Now, unsecured lending is under the spotlight again. The South African Human Rights Commission is calling on government to work on tightening rules governing insecure loans. This comes as the number of indebted consumers is increasing. ANN7 business reporter Mish Molakeng has more on the story.
The unsecured lending market in South Africa has grown rapidly over the past 5 years. Total outstanding unsecured credit increased from 41 billion in 2007 to 159 billion in December 2012, with a staggering compound annual increase of 31% per annum. About 40% of money from microfinancing is used to buy food and pay off debts. The South African Human Rights Commission says it's worried about how low-income earners are affected by cheap loans.
What we've seen now is that the unsecured lending industry in South Africa has grown by over 50% in the last 5 years. So we're talking about hundreds of billions of rands of people that have taken out loans and that they don't have the financial wherewithal to pay back. And then they get into a situation where their wages get attached. So we're talking about a situation where somebody is earning, say, 3,000 rand a month, but they get an attachment order for almost half of their wages. This becomes very difficult for people then to put food on the table, to provide transport and health care for their families.
With South Africa's economy failing to expand, the cash-strapped consumers are lured by the cheap loans, but most struggle to pay back, creating a cycle of debt.
Sector, according to our research, 8% of all employees in the formal sector has garnishee orders against their salaries. Now, if you work that back, it roughly means that 1 out of every 12 employees has a garnishee order against their salary. And also keep in mind that every employee can have more than one order against their salaries because multiple orders is allowed in South Africa.
With South Africa's high level of indebtedness corresponding with low level of savings, government might just agree to tighten the laws around unsecured lending. Mish Molakeng, reporting for ANN7 Johannesburg.
Neil Roets, who's the CEO of Debt Rescue, joins me in studio. Thanks for joining us on ANN7 Prime. What are your thoughts on the South African Human Rights Commission stepping into this unsecured loans issue?
Well, I think it's quite necessary for that step to be taken because unsecured debt is becoming a very big problem in South Africa. What we've seen in the past is that people used to take out vehicle finance and home loans quite easily. But since the implementation of the National Credit Act, credit providers are more vigilant with regards to giving out secured loans, which is home loans and vehicle finance. And then what happened subsequently is that credit providers started to give out unsecured loans very easily to consumers. And it's very easy to come by nowadays, the unsecured lending, which is obviously not a good thing because people take out these loans without really being in a position to afford to pay back these loans. And that is a big problem that we're sitting with.
When consumers face a situation where they cannot pay back those loans, what are your recommendations?
Well, the National Credit Act makes provision for debt counselling. So consumers should immediately, when they find themselves in a situation where they cannot pay back their monthly payments, they must contact a debt counsellor as soon as possible. Debt counsellor will then, in terms of the National Credit Act, place that consumer under debt review. And debt review is a process whereby consumers can pay back their debt in an affordable manner without losing their assets.
Mm-hmm. Take us through the process of that debt counselling.
Well, what we do at Debt Rescue is that we look at the consumer's situation. We look at what he earns and what his expenses are. And we then determine what the amount is that he can pay back to his credit providers, which will be affordable to him and which will make it possible for him to pay back his or pay for his necessities and his expenses, monthly expenses. So we basically make it affordable for consumers to pay back their debt and make sure that they are protected against credit providers which will take action against them even though they are on the debt review.
What trends are you seeing in terms of people who access this unsecured loans and who are unable to pay back their obligations?
Well, we're seeing more and more people taking out unsecured loans, but on the other side, we're also seeing more and more people applying for debt review. It's obviously indicative of people having problems paying back their debt. But what it also shows is that people are starting to trust the system and the process of debt counselling, and they're becoming more aware of the process of debt counselling, which is a very good thing, because that's the whole purpose of debt counselling. Is it's there to help people. The Credit Act also makes sure that credit providers don't give out loans to people who can't afford it. And like I said earlier, that's not always the case with unsecured lending. Loans are sometimes given out to people who can't really afford to pay back those loans, and that's why we have something like debt counselling. So if people find themselves in a situation where they are over-indebted and they cannot pay back their monthly payments, they should apply for debt review as soon as possible.
Thank you very much, Neil Roets. He's the CEO of Debt Rescue, joining us in studio. Now it's time for us to take a short break. When we come back, the Champions League returns to the Allianz Arena on Wednesday, and Bayern Munich will be looking to reach the last 8. This and other sports stories with